Hello, and welcome to another episode of Winter is Writing. Today I'm going to be talking about what the work of writing looks like and why that matters. But before I get to that, just a little housekeeping. As a warning, I will be transitioning these shows to my business Facebook page in June. So I'm going to put in a comment right now a link to my business Facebook page. So you can go ahead and give that a like, and these lives will be going live on that page as of June. So, okay, there it is in the comments. Go like it. It would help me out a lot. Thanks. All right, on to today's topic, what writing looks like. So, I apologize for the beeping. If you can hear that, that's the oven. All right, I think it stopped now. So the work of writing can take many forms, and the really most important part to think about is that it doesn't always look like putting words on the page, either by hand or via typing or dictation. Like actually transcribing words onto a page is actually a really small portion of writing, or at least it is to me. The ratio of words to page time versus other tasks as a writer differs from writer to writer. But it was something that was actually holding me back for a lot of years because I had that kind of naive, childish view, or this kind of romanticized view of what a writer looks like, you know, hard at work over a piece of paper and the words just flowing out of them. It's very like romantic image, right? But that's not what it looks like a lot. Writing, for me at least, ends up being a lot of thinking. And it was when I opened myself up to spending time on the other tasks of writing that my writing actually, my output increased a lot. So my process right now is fairly simple. I write every weekday morning, first thing after like I finish my morning routine, having breakfast and stuff. I sit down, I set a timer for an hour, and I try to make progress on my current project until the timer goes off. And I'm using the word try here very explicitly because, I don't know, I love Star Wars, I love Yoda, but that whole do or do not, there is no try that Yoda says, just like, if you have any level of anxiety or depression or anything in that realm, that phrase can be really disheartening and actually stop you from doing the work you want to do, not just in writing, but with anything in life. And it's also that kind of advice that professional writers can often give. It's like, well, if you want to be a writer, just write. That whole just write kind of drives me nuts. It was really harmful for me for many years because it's not that simple. It never is. Like, it's a creative endeavor. There are so many things that go into it. So it was when I got to a point in my writing that I was like, okay, my goal is to spend time on my writing as opposed to having a goal of any sort of output, like however many words a day kind of a thing. It wasn't until I made that switch to a time goal that I was able to like really start writing. And for those of you West Coast swing dancers, like Rose City Murder Mystery would have never happened if I hadn't figured this stuff out years ago. And I wouldn't be continuing to write for Rose City because it's like I need to always reframe and coach myself through writing because it's like very stressful, especially when there are people depending on your creativity. It can be really easy to be too hard on myself and to not write. And so I always refocus myself. So like last week, I talked about how perfectionism was holding me back in my the novel that I'm writing. And I switched my focus in my spending time to actually working on the words in my draft. Whereas for the month prior, I had been spending time just thinking and trying to solve the problems in my novel, which was valid, but it took time for me to realize that I needed to shift gears and try something else. I needed my writing time to look different for me to move forward. And so with any, like, this doesn't just apply to writing. It's like any endeavor, any task that you undertake. It's usually not as simple as whatever the verb is. It's like, it's not as simple as just writing. It's not as simple as just practicing if you're a dancer. Like, taking into account that that includes so many different things is really important. So that way you're placing value on the things that don't necessarily readily have value to you. So like with my novel, or with Rose City, because I'm starting to ramp up to the point where I'm going to start outlining the next Rose City swing, thinking is my job. Like, sitting and staring out a window and pondering things, that's my job at that point in time. Thinking is important. And like, even thinking can take many different forms. It could be just that, me sitting at my desk and staring out the window and being frustrated and trying to work through things in my head. It can be me journaling, like writing stream of consciousness. If any of you are familiar with morning pages from Julia Cameron, that's another tool you can use to try to think through things. Or it can look like brainstorming, like using webs or mind maps, that kind of stuff. Thinking can even look like sitting down for an hour and reading. I actually gave this advice to someone a little while back because they were like stuck and they needed some inspiration. And I was like, just sit, grab 3 different books off your shelf that have nothing to do with each other, switch to 10 pages, move on to the next book, yada, yada, yada. And then go out and take a 15-minute walk. And just like downloading 3 different forms of information into your brain and then going and physically moving, that'll usually get your brain going and you'll think of something you wouldn't have thought of before. So circling back to my main point, writing looks like many different things. And it will only hold you back if, when you're doing one of those many different things, you don't place value on it. So if you don't place value on sitting in your chair and staring out the window, thinking through your writing, which is a necessary part of the process, it's not going to be as helpful and you're going to feel like shit. So it's really important to be kind to yourself and to be open to what point in the process you're at any given time and allowing it. So like, that's what I've been going through with my novel over the past month. It's like I was beating my head against the wall forever trying to figure out this character problem that I had. And then I got to this point where I was like, oh, I'm dealing with perfectionism and I'm just afraid to break the thing that I made and I'm proud of. But it's not great yet. So I needed to give myself permission to get in there, get my hands dirty, and break it. Because I can't learn how to do it right until I have done it wrong enough times that I learn what right looks like. That makes sense. So, yeah, writing looks like a lot of different things. And it can even look like binge watching your favorite show for an afternoon just because you need to refill your creative well and get some ideas and just experience somebody else's kind of storytelling, or meeting characters that are similar to your own or even different from your own. Like, you can learn from so many different places. Writing can look like reading the book that you're reading right now because you love it so much and it inspires you. So like, yes, on the one hand, there's a fine line, which I'll probably get around to on another episode this month, between procrastinating on your writing and actually engaging in a different form of writing. Like, that's a fine line. But ultimately, like, if you're spending time and your goal is to make consistent, even if it's just small progress towards your end goal. So like, if you're a writer, it's a novel or a script or that kind of thing, you're doing the work. And it's really important to not only be kind to yourself and forgiving of what the process, quote unquote, looks like at any given point in time, but to actually be proud of yourself for doing the work and for putting in the time and trying to move forward. So like, that goes back to the Yoda quote that I hate. So like, really, if there's something you want to do, sit down and spend the time and try. Like, be good to yourself. So yeah, it took me way too long in my life to figure that out for myself. So I wanted to pass it on to you guys. So that's it for this week. Again, in June, I will be moving this live show to my business Facebook page, which I have linked in the comments. So if you could go like that, that'd be awesome. And if you're interested in more about my writing and my writing coaching in general, just go to my website, accountabilitymuse.com, or hit me up, send me a message. So this has been a great week. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.